All right, test, check how we sounding. Sounds good. All right, let's get this thing going. Hello and welcome to yet another Ableton Office Hours stream. This is the time and place where I get online and I hang out and I do some music shenanigans, and then I answer any questions you may have about making music with Ableton Live. So that's what we're going to do for the next little bit. Just a little quick warning before we dive into things. Normally the stream schedule is office hour streams on Mondays, Patreon only streams on Tuesdays, and then song feedback streams on Wednesdays. Because of holiday stuff this week, Monday and Tuesday stream, today and tomorrow stream will be as normal. And then the Wednesday song feedback stream will unfortunately not be happening. Not much I can do about that. Sorry, but that's just the way it is this week. And then back next week will be normal times and everything. So oftentimes when I start these streams, I don't really have an idea of what I'm going to be doing when I get started. But today, I wanted to do something that is a little bit off the beaten path. Something I just wanted to try out to see if I can figure out an easy, streamlined way to make a chord generator. Just a bunch of MIDI effects that you can all plug in together and just hit the same button over and over and have it generate chord progressions for you. So that's kind of what I was thinking I was going to do at first. But as always, if you guys have any questions or things you want to talk about when it comes to making music with Live, you are more than welcome to toss those things in the chat. All right, so we're going to start with a piano to do this. And we are going to, and if we get through this quickly and it works, I'm going to do more generative stuff with like melodies and other things. Maybe just do like a whole generative track on stream and just kind of see how that goes. So we'll start the piano here. That is very quiet. Turn this bad boy up. Cool. Stream is giving me issues, but I hope it's still okay. All right. So yeah, we're gonna take this piano and we're just gonna start randomly generating chords. And to do this, I'm just gonna put in a chord here, and not a chord. I'm gonna put a single note there. Note shouldn't matter itself because we're gonna use it to generate things. So to do this, we are going to be combining probably first, I think, with the best order of operations here. I guess the random device first is going to be probably where we start with. And that way, every time I get a note, we can make it play a random note. So if I play the same note over and over again, like that. And then we want to be able to keep those notes in a particular key. So we're then going to combine that with the scale device. In fact, we'll do the minor scale here. So now it'll only play notes in the minor scale, and we can pick a scale we want to be in. Say we want to be in G minor. Now it only plays notes in that particular scale. Now the thing that I wanted to kind of figure out, and then we're going to kind of figure out together live, is how to take this and then turn these into chords and make them the right chords for each note. And I think we're going to have to do this on a scale by scale basis. I think it's going to be the easiest way to do this. I think so. We'll figure it out as we go. So we're going to take this and we're going to run this into a rack, a MIDI effect rack. That'll be in the, open up a bunch of chains. We're going to add some chains here. And that way, and we're going to key map this. So we're going to have 7 chains, theoretically. First chain is going to be a minor chord. Second chain is going to be a diminished chord. Third chain is going to be a major chord because we're in the minor scale. Next chord is going to be a minor scale. Fifth one is going to be minor. I'm just labeling these so I can keep my life and my mind organized later on. This one's major, and this one's also major. And then we're gonna have to set this up. This is the part that I wanted to try to figure out here. I want to be able to set this up so that I can change these notes and then also still be in the right, and make it so that the chords match and line up where they're supposed to be over here. I don't think there's going to be an easy way to do that off the top of my head without getting really complicated. So this will randomize our root notes. This will then output it here. We take these guys, we just pick a single octave. We'll do like the third octave, I guess. And I guess we'll have to start with, let's make it just for this specific key. And that should be fine, at least for right now. So this one's going to be F sharp. In fact, let's do this for all of them. And we'll start it with F sharp. And then it's going to be G sharp. And this is going to be, again, specifically for F sharp minor that we're doing this for. If there's anybody just joining us right now, I'm making a random chord generator for fun because I sounded like it would be fun. However, if you guys have any questions or things you want to talk about, feel free to toss those questions in the chat, and we will definitely get around to it. F step, and then I'll still close up. All right. So if I am not mistaken, what's up, after party? How are you doing today? If I'm not mistaken, those are all the correct notes in F sharp minor. We got F sharp, G sharp. Yeah, that should be good. Then what I'm going to do is grab a chord device and toss it on every one of these guys. So this one's going to be a minor chord. I probably should have done the chord device first. And I'm just going to copy and paste this to the other minor chords. So these are all minor chords. This one's going to be our diminished chord. And then this one's going to be the major chord. And we will copy and paste that to the other majors. All right, so now I should be good. So theoretically, if I've done this correctly, I can just play a random note. It'll randomly output one of these notes that are in the key of F sharp minor. This will then receive those notes, and then it will output a chord for each one. Let's see if this worked. I think we're on the wrong key. We'll have to make this a, I'll have to start with F sharp. That seems to be working. So what we're going to do now is we're going to speed it up a little bit by having half notes. And then let's take out some of the doubles. And let's see if this works. Let's do quarter notes. Those diminished chords sound really terrible. Quarter notes is too much. Let's go back to half notes. But it appears to be working. It appears to be just... One of them is not outputting anything, it sounded like. Oh, it was just that one. All right, we can leave some of these in. all of them in. All right, why did that not output a note or a chord? It should have sent the one note there because it's too low. That should be F3. That's playing an F3. Oh, it's because this is too high. That's why. All right, let's move this down to 7. Cool. We got our random chord generator. Now, unfortunately, if I wanted this to change keys, this is going to be the tricky part. I'd probably have to take this and a pitch device and map them both to the same thing here and try to line those up. That would probably be the best bet, but whatever. It works. It does what I want it to. Let's add some effects to this thing. See what happens. Give it some more release, give it a little bit of attack, a little bit more reverb here. Cool, that works. And let's actually give it, still want to cut some of these out to see what happens if we can get these to sound a little better. And like occasionally have longer chords and occasionally have shorter chords. And duplicate this guy, make it shorter here. Just to have options. No, I think it sounds better with more options in there. Maybe I'll get rid of the extra. Those are all majors. That one's a major, that one's a major. That one's a major. Try that. Cool, we got it to work. It's still missing the one piece of functionality where I can just easily turn a knob and be able to have it switch between different keys. Because right now everything's gonna be F sharp. So if I change this, it's gonna screw up everything over here. So I'm gonna have to brainstorm a little bit and see if I can think of a way to kind of dial this in so I can have just one knob and I can have it just rotate between different keys in case I want to do like a key change, or I can just kind of like sit there and make it kind of change on the fly, or every time I sit down I can just have a different key for this, which I think one could theoretically do with this guy. Probably be easier to do it like starting at C, so that this starts at C, and so that as you turn this knob, it also turns this. In fact, let's go ahead and try that. And once again, if anybody's just joining us, right now I'm just making a random chord generator. But if you wanted to ask any questions, feel free to toss those questions in the chat. So if we start with C, like that. This is at C and this is at C. I don't know how many how many notes there are in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just 10 of them? What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I think there's 12 in there. No, I guess speed. Yeah, so it should be 12 or 11, one of those two. We'll have to test it out. We're going to macro map this to macro 1, and then we're macro map this also to macro 1. However, this one is going to start at 0, and then it's going to go up either 11 or 12. It's got to be 11. B is 11 semitones away. So now if I turn this one 1, that's going to be obnoxious. After party, I am kind of feeling ready for it. I definitely am glad I got a few practice runs in. Some of them I got close to finishing, some I did not. But yeah, I'm ready to get started. I'm ready just to like do it and see what happens. All right, so if this goes 1, 2, 3. Okay, that should be good. This is not going to work though, because I want this to also, the notes coming in here want to move with it. And there's no way to make those move with it. Yeah, unfortunately, my grand idea here is not going to work for my easy way to transpose between different keys. Just being like, all right, I'm ready to go to the gym, and not actually being ready. Yeah, because that's going to cause a miss there. Interesting. All right. I'll have to think about this and see if I can think of an easy solution for this. I think right now the solution is just, you just have to take whatever these notes are and then line them up here. Or to have the pitch shifts in here. That could also work potentially. No. All right, well, let's unrack those guys. All right, well, let's go back to our F sharp minor. Put these guys back on F sharp. Yeah, just got to go for it and see what happens. That's the only way to do anything in life, really. It's just to like, just go for it. And to be honest, I think the thing about the song challenge is that there's no guarantee it's going to go well. I'm going to have some really stinky song challenges, and that's just part of what it is. The important thing is you just commit to doing it, and then you just go for it. And like I tell this to my students a lot, and it's oftentimes really hard for me to remember myself, that like the process is what matters. The end result is almost meaningless. It's like what you learned along the way and how you grew as an artist and how you kind of like change your perspective on music and art and sound and techniques and synthesis, and like that's the real benefit. The song itself is like, it's a weird byproduct of it in most cases. So I think that's like something I'm gonna have to really focus on. It's just like, be very process oriented, don't be results oriented. Cool, so we got this. We got this chord generator, which is kind of cool. And then over here earlier today for a video I was making, I did the same thing for melody. So this is going to randomly generate chords, and then this one's going to randomly generate MIDI. Real quick, just in case you guys didn't catch how I did this, I have a single note here going into a random device that's going to randomize that note between up to 7 different choices for the 7 different chords, or 8 chords technically. And then this is going to be only outputting notes that are in that scale, which is F sharp. That's being run to a MIDI effect rack, which has a chord device for each one of the different notes. So my minor chords, my diminished chord, my major chords, they're all here. So that way I send one MIDI note, and every time I send that MIDI note, it's just going to generate a new chord. And then over here, I have kind of a similar thing, but without the chord rack. I just have a arpeggiator, random device, and then a scale device with a velocity device. So this is going to be randomly generating melodies for me. We're just doing some generative stuff today. So this will sometimes make cool melodies. Sometimes they won't sound cool. This will make chord progressions. Sometimes they'll sound cool. Sometimes they won't. But the idea here is just to kind of like have things just generate things for you automatically. And usually I record it, but this is kind of an experiment that I'm doing. One of the things I'm thinking about actually for the song challenge is every week going into it with a different theme or technique or genre. So like, 1 week might be an ambient week. 1 week might be like a, down tempo bass. One might be a house music. And that way, like every song challenge is going to be a different style. And so generative might be one of the ones I end up doing. And I've done a lot of generative experimentation, but I've never actually like finished a generative track. I've never actually like fully polished and like got a generative track together and like finished it. So that's one of the things I was thinking about doing as like one of the themes for the week. So if we try these together. Both are just generating ideas. I might take this whole piano down an octave just to separate these two a little bit. Yeah, MIDI effects are so useful. That's not too bad. I kind of want this chords to be a little bit more spaced out. Although that means when I don't get a chord, it takes a really long time before I do get a chord. Let's get a little bit of velocity range in here. Yeah, you can definitely go really over the top with generative music in terms of like, here's my 6-hour generative track. And you're like, nobody wants to listen to a 6-hour generative track. I think the thing about generative is you really just kind of like snip out the best bits. And you're like, cool, here's like a 4 minutes of like a 2-hour long generative thing I made. I went through and I found the best 4 minutes and I like turned that into a song. And I think that's a really cool way to do it. But yeah, people can definitely go over the top with it for sure. All right, I want to get a little bit more chaos into this operator one. What's going to be the best way to do that? All right, I got an idea. We're going to put this in a rack. We're going to duplicate it. And we're going to grab the expression control. And we're going to have two randoms. And they're going to randomize the volume of these guys, of both my two layers. And then on this second one here, let's go ahead and just keep this off for right now. Unmap this one real quick. We're going to make a whole new different kind of sound here. Cool, we'll do something like that. And then we're going to randomize the volume of both of these. All right, let's get some more percussion stuff going on here. So right now I'm just doing some generative music stuff, but if you guys have any questions or things you guys want to talk about, that's really kind of the whole point of these streams, is for you guys to ask me whatever you want, and we can talk about that as well. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep making this generative thing and kind of seeing where it goes. All right, so we're going to duplicate up on this guy. We're going to have, let's have the same kind of chords here. What's up, Dan? How you doing? And let's do something a little bit more atmospheric. And Kennedy, how are you doing today? Let's use some shimmer. Should be sleeping. I'm kind of like that too. I'm like a night owl. I tend to get a lot of my best ideas and things done when I should be sleeping. Let's do a little bit of a notch filter in this guy. And heavier on the reverb. Grab a side chain. And let's grab a phaser. Sorry about that. The mic should be working again now. Yeah, every time I try to do something cool on stream, the mic goes out. So that's why I'm never gonna do anything cool on stream anymore. Yeah, I know exactly how to fix it. It's just when it happens, I can't tell unless you guys tell me. I guess I don't need to do any of this stuff if this is just going to be sending the post effects things out of there. Cool. So all I did here is if I want my pad sound to be following the exact random chords that I'm doing on my piano, I just set the monitor to in and then grab the MIDI from the piano track, post effects. So I'm going to get it after it's running through all the MIDI effects that I have on there. And that way they're playing the same chord progression. And then I can process this one differently and make it sound cool and interesting without having to like redo all the, that way they're not playing different chord progressions at the same time, which might sound like they're conflicting and doing different things. So we're gonna turn this up. So after I wanted to ask about if there's a solution to make music during the feedback streams in stereo. I know whenever people listen to Underbelly roast tracks, they seem to be in stereo. Yeah, I keep on forgetting to look into that. That's definitely something that I'm aware of because when I am using OBS to film videos for the channel, it works in stereo. So it's getting a stereo signal into OBS, and then it's probably a preference I can just check in OBS where I can just change it to be stereo. All right, OBS says it's in stereo, so somewhere along the lines it's not going in stereo. My thing that I'm using to get audio into OBS looks like it's also in stereo. I'm gonna poke around. I need to do it sometime when I'm not streaming and test it out and double check, but I 100% know there's a way to stream in stereo. And I know OBS handles stuff in stereo, but I keep on forgetting to do it in between streams. So I'll do it before the stream tomorrow. I'll check because I meant to do it today, actually. Because when I hear it in stereo, but when you guys hear it, I don't actually hear it. Or you guys are not hearing it in stereo. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying the feedback streams. Also, to let you know, I think I mentioned this last week. No feedback stream this week, unfortunately, but Patreon stream is happening as normal, and then next week the streams will also be happening as normal. I got a holiday thing I gotta do on Wednesday. Also, if there's anybody who is just joining us, you are more than welcome. If you have any questions about making music with Ableton Live, to toss those questions in chat. Right now, I'm just doing some kind of generative stuff. But yeah, you're more than welcome to let me know what's on your mind. All right, so we got these things going on. I guess we should just keep on going down the generative train and just add some generative percussion, I guess. The other thing I could do is the chance percentage down here. I've not been playing around with the chance percentage here that much, which I think could be really fun for, I don't know, like maybe these hi-hats. Yeah, let's try it on the hi-hats. So the on-time hi-hats, we're going to set them to be like a really low percentage chance. And then these ones in between, this probably was a faster way to do this instead of doing it like this, but whatever. These ones are going to be a lower velocity and a medium chance. Let's see what happens. And let's do the same thing with the kick. We're going to make sure there's always kick in the downbeat. And then let's make the 2 and the 4 a smaller, just slightly smaller percent chance. It's a little higher than 65. Let's do like 70. The other really fun way to add a little bit of generative or random, stuff into your productions is to use follow actions. And people forget how cool this is. So you can just duplicate this clip, and then maybe I'll have one where we have, I don't know, we'll just do something like this actually, like a totally different beat with different chance percentages. See what that sounds like. Cool, I like that. Yeah, we can definitely go over tomorrow on stream after party if you want. That's not a problem. And let's do a few more. Bump, 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 bump. And let's do. Cool. So now we have 4 different drum patterns. And this is one of the things I really like about follow actions, is that when I'm doing randomness with like chance percentages and things like that, sometimes it can sound a little too chaotic and a little too crazy. Whereas if I do follow actions, where I have all 4 of these guys, open up this bad boy, turn on follow actions, we're going to randomize it to be any after a certain number of times of looping, which is really, really handy. So that way, if you say, for example, have like 6 different chord progressions, and you don't want to play every chord progression one time and then go to the next one because it sounds crazy, you could have it loop, I don't know, 2 times, 4 times, whatever, and then it goes to the next one. So that way you get these like blocks of loops before it moves on to the next random block of loops. So let's do this for two loops through. So basically just 2 bars through, and then it's going to randomly jump to a new kick drum pattern. Cool. And then we can kind of do the same thing with the hi-hats. We can do one version of the hi-hats where the chance percentage is pretty high on all of these. Like that. And then let's duplicate this, and maybe let's just do... These guys don't exist, except for occasionally we'll do some 30-second notes that will not always happen. I think Live 11 really stepped up, or Ableton as a company stepped up the generative game big time with Live 11. They gave you so many cool options for being like, all right, I'm just going to generate a bunch of stuff. Let's see how it sounds. And let's do one where we have off time ones and see how that goes. So now I have all 4 of these guys, follow actions, and we'll have a loop. We'll do twice as well. Although you do it like 3 times and get some like really cool, interesting combos that way. I didn't give it the follow action I wanted to. Let's give the follow action here. We're going to do other, so it never goes to itself. What's up, Leonidas? How you doing today? It's actually kind of coming along. I got a lot of work to do on these other parts, but it's I don't hate what's happening with the drums. So let's go in here. Let's grab like a clap kind of sound. That one I think will be fine. All right, so in this situation, I don't need to get too fancy with the claps. I'm mostly just going to have them on the 2 and the 4. Boom, 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 2 and the 4, and then maybe just go back and forth between them happening and them not happening every couple bars. Landis, I don't know that track off the top of my head. Let me look it up real quick and take a listen and kind of see if I have any thoughts on it, and we'll kind of go from there. Once I finish doing this one thing. So right now, let's put a little bit of reverb and compression on that first. All right, and then we'll have another version of the one where it's just we'll do it halftime on the snare, and then we'll have one more where there's no snare. And that way we can just randomly jump between those 3 follow actions. We'll go to other after 2 loops through. I don't know how I'm feeling about the chords and the melody anymore, but the randomly generated drum beat is working for me. We might have to play around with that some more. So I'm using an M1 desktop with just a monitor, and then weirdly enough, I have to use an iPad as my second monitor. So that's where the the chat is and all my other stuff is. I definitely would like to have a second monitor. I think that makes my life a lot easier. I'm also probably going to end up trading in my M1 desktop for one of the new MacBook Pros. And then I'll just connect that to my second monitor and be able to use that. All right, let me go ahead and save this guy. All right, should be back now. Sweet. So I'm gonna go ahead. I saved this guy. Let's go ahead and open a new project just so I don't have to deal with CPU issues. And then Leonidas, I believe, is asking about a track. I'm not gonna be able to play this on stream because they'll give me a copyright thing for it. So I'm gonna go ahead and listen to it real quick, and you guys will just have to watch me listen to it for a second. But it's the one he linked in chat. It's the one he put in chat. And I'm just gonna see if there's anything here that I can pick up on that I think is worth talking about or taking a listen to. But I believe this is the track. So it has a really kind of like dubby beginning. Super heavy reverb on the vocals. Yeah, so it's very kind of like dubby kind of production here. So honestly, there's not a huge amount going on. All right, so this is actually, I think, a really like important kind of skill set to have, is being able to like listen to and analyze music. So what I'm hearing here are kind of these like hip hoppy kind of drums, really down tempo. Like a very kind of like acoustic sounding snare, kind of like digital sounding drum. Very kind of dub rhythm, just kick, snare with a lot of space in between them. And I'll kind of like go through a lot of the things I'm talking about now. I just want to like do a general overview first. Really kind of natural pattern on the hats. So it sounds almost kind of like a live drummer, or being able to use a plugin like Abbey Road drums or something like that, where you can get these really nice, real sounding drums, would be good to do here. And other than that, there's really only like two other things going on in terms of the instrumental. One of them is going to be the bass line. Yeah, again, kind of like dubby bass line. If you can get somebody who plays bass to play that bass line, that's going to be fantastic. That's probably going to be the best way to do that. And then other than that, there's the weird kind of like squonky synthy kind of sound. It almost sounds kind of like a guitar with a wah pedal. So a lot of this stuff is really interesting, because you could make a lot of this stuff, acoustically. You could just have somebody play guitar with a wah pedal, somebody play bass, and somebody play drums, and like that's most of this track. Or you could try to do a lot of stuff with synthesizers and things like that. But other than that, it's just the vocals. The vocals are really carrying this and are pulling a lot of the weight here, and they're just like really heavily reverbed out vocals. So those are kind of the things that I'm hearing there. So if you want to try to like make a beat like that, we can start with the drums. So we'll just start with like an empty drum rack. And we want to have a nice, almost kind of like like a little bit of acoustic sounding kick, a little bit of a digital sounding kick. So that's what we'll probably do is we'll probably layer up the two of those together. So we go to our drum hits, just go to kick. I don't love the kicks in here, but we can see if we can find one. Because a lot of the kicks I use probably won't fit with this. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to the Beat Tools kicks and then see what happens. Probably have a better chance of finding a good kick in there. Something like this might be good for one layer, and then let's find another layer to go with it. That one's kind of nice. Let's try that. Let's try those two together. Theirs is a little bit more muted than that, but I think this will work just fine. And then they use like a really nice kind of like classic sounding snare. Probably not an 808. That one could work. Try that one. Let's find something a little bit more acoustic sounding than that. Those are all 808s. Let's try that one. Maybe a little bit less of this guy. That'll be our starting point, but we might tweak this kind of along the way. To me, it sounded like a 140 halftime kind of rhythm. So most of the rhythm is just going to be this. Maybe even a little slower than that. 135, 130-ish. Let me go ahead and listen to it again. That's why it's good to have our reference tracks. Where did it go? Oops, that's my video editing. Wrong tab. Okay, so it's not quite this. They're doing something a little more complicated. Let's duplicate this. So they're doing that, and then duplicate again. It sounds they're doing something kind of like this, where it's kick snare, kick kick snare, and then a space kick snare. Something like that. Kick placement is kind of like whatever, wherever you want to put it is totally fine. I need to keep this open. Where did it go? Yeah, something kind of along those lines. They might shift it up a little bit as the song goes on, but the drum pattern is going to be somewhat similar to this. And then they have a lot of stuff going on for their hats and their rhythms. So you can kind of like play around with that as you see fit, but they have this really nice kind of like cymbal hit, not really cymbal hit. It's kind of like a weird, almost like a shaker kind of thing. Something like that could work. But they're putting before the snares sometimes. They're like putting it here. And I'm just kind of going by ear here and just really guessing. But they're using it instead of the snare sometimes. So they're just having something like that, the ear of the snare. And there's something like more like a bell sound in there too. Let's see if we can find a bell to layer with it. Not quite that, but we'll try it out. So, and I think sometimes they have it a little bit beforehand. So things like that, just like little bits of percussion in there, are gonna be really important for this kind of drum beat. And then they have a lot of cymbals. So you're gonna need a bunch of different cymbal sounds, some open, some closed. Where's the hats? Different kinds of hats. I'll take that. I'm just gonna add a bunch in here. That one's kind of nice. That one kind of works too. All right, something like that. And then we're gonna duplicate this just so we can have some versions without the hats and some with them. So we'll start with like, turn a little headphone guy on. I feel like that one's gonna be a good halfway in between here. And maybe one after it. So yeah, so where you put these cymbals is kind of up to you. You can like have fun with it and kind of play around with the timing. Maybe not that one. That's probably too much, but you get the idea. So you can have fun with it, play around with it, where you can put the cymbals, but a lot of this track in terms of like what makes it groove is just playing around with the timing of those cymbals in there. Yeah, they're doing a lot of different stuff with the cymbals. Yeah, and then the bass line, they're gonna have kind of like I said, like a more of just like an actual person playing that bass line, somebody like actually just playing a bass guitar to do that, which you can try to recreate with the synthesizer. That can totally work. However, it's not going to sound quite the same. And the way you do that is you just start with any old kind of synthesizer you want, saw wave, turn the filter frequency down, and then add an envelope to the filter frequency, and then shift the envelope to give it that kind of plucky sound. And if you want to resonate a little bit more, you can turn up the resonance. And we can also turn our volume envelope down. I think the saw wave will give you more of the like sound like an actual bass than a not in a square wave or something like that. and you can play with the timing. And then probably saturate it, and maybe a tiny bit of distortion would not be the worst thing in the world here. I don't know, something kind of like that could work. I don't know, that's kind of what I'm feeling for it. Yeah, and then you just put in that kind of like groovy, dubby bass pattern. Boom. It's like, I don't know, you just have a lot of space in it, and then you just kind of like follow along the pattern with the rhythm. Mess that up, but you kind of get the idea. Whatever pattern you want in there. And maybe like a tiny bit of reverb would not be the worst thing in the world too. Let me go ahead and just take the last thing I played. There's 2 bars. Yeah, and then you put the kind of like wah guitar thing in here, which I think is like, I think realistically the best way is just get a guitar and have somebody play guitar for it. You could try to synthesize that, but it's going to be a little tricky, I think. Yeah, and you just play the kind of like off time wah pedal guitar, and that's going to be kind of the way you're going to do that. Hopefully, Leonidas, that kind of answers your question, gives you some insight into what they're doing there. I apologize to anybody who has not heard this track because I can't play it on stream because, YouTube and copyright stuff. But yeah, those are kind of the things I put away from here. It's it's not super complicated. It's very minimal in terms of what's happening in the instrumental. It's the drum beat that's mostly the hi-hats are carrying a lot of it. Hi-hat cymbals are carrying a lot of the weight and the rhythm of that beat. It's the off-time dubby wah guitar, and then the dubby bass line that sounds like it's played with the bass guitar. That's pretty much all that's happening in terms of the instrumental. Everything else is just the vocals. So yeah, hopefully, I mean, I'm not able to like exactly recreate this track for you on the spot, but hopefully that gives you some insight, Leonidas. Let me know if that's helpful or not, or if you have any other questions. Also, if you guys have any questions, anybody who's just joining us, you are more than welcome to toss those questions in the chat, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Let me just check some things here. What if we get a little more distortion on it, a little bit less reverb. Really kind of dial in the bass part. The triangle sounds super cool too, but the triangle is going to give you way more of the like digital sounding bass, which also I think sounds really cool, but in the actual song it sounds like it's somewhere in the middle. Has a little bit more of that kind of grit to it. Yeah, I think that doesn't sound too bad to me. And then you start getting a lot of different places depending on how I want to do the sound design. That kind of works for me. I'm getting away from dub territory, classic dub territory, and more to like EDM, but there's a lot of like minor variations you can make on this sound that all sound really cool. Sweet. Well, Leonidas, I'm not sure if you're still there, but hopefully that's useful for you. I think I'm going to jump back over to my generative track that I was working on. But yeah, hope that was helpful. All right, so over here on this guy, we had our drum beats. I'm going to get just a drum beat for a second to see how it feels with the random different versions of the drum beat that I'll be jumping back and forth between. We're gonna have to launch them. All right, I feel like the melody guy needs to do something a little bit different. So let's go ahead and duplicate it so that way I can go back if I need to. And so this, stop everything here. Let's try moving it up another octave. All right, here's what I want. What I want is randomly, sometimes to be on eighth notes, and sometimes to be on 16th notes. And I want it to happen every quarter note. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have some automation in here. We're gonna have the synced rate, where it's gonna, this one's gonna be on eighth notes, and this one is gonna be on 16th notes. And then I'm going to set up follow actions between these two to randomly jump between them every half bar. Let's see if that gets me what I want. I like that a lot better, I think, actually. I'm also going to use the filter delay instead of the regular delay. Nice, so I think it's done a lot better there. I like being able to jump back and forth between different values. And again, this is one reason I think Live 11 really shines. Just like there's so many different ways to get different kinds of automation and being able to jump back and forth between different things, doing different things randomly, but also being able to stay kind of consistent and being able to control that randomness is really, really powerful. That also being said, right now I am just kind of like screwing around, playing with this track. So if you have any questions or things that you want to talk about, feel free to let me know in the chat, and I will definitely try to talk about it. All right, let's get a little bit more percussion going on here. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with an empty drum rack. And we're gonna add in some sounds to it. We're gonna add some percussive sounds, I think. Let's have some glitchy sounds. These are too glitchy, except for those three. Those are good. I'll add those in here. I'll add those three. Add those two. We're just making a glitch rack real quick. Let's go to the metal sounds. And what I'm looking for in general is things that are fairly atonal and are fairly quick. Those are the two things I'm looking for. A lot of these are very long, which I don't want. Those two are actually kind of cool, even though they're a little bit longer. Need one more. Cool. So we're going to take these guys. We're going to do something kind of similar. We're going to just send a MIDI note, extend it all the way out. We're going to go to our arpeggiator. We're going to have this repeat. Let's solo it. We're going to randomize it. All right, sorry about that. I got hopefully everything fixed now. Sweet. So we got this random guy going. I think that one doesn't quite fit in, so we're gonna get rid of that one. Something that's kind of cool. And then let's actually take some of these guys. Is there any like longer one? That's fine, I think. So now what I want to do is I want to randomize the rate a little bit, but I want that rate to be randomized at a fairly regular interval. So again, we could do that with multiple clips. Let's try it with a Max for Live device, the expression control. We're going to hit the random button here, and we're going to map it here. And we're going to set the maximum range to be 24th notes. And we'll see what the minimum range is here if I go like here. A little too chaotic, so let's get rid of that. We have to just switch back and forth between 8th notes and 16th notes. So we're going to do that once again on our clips. Synced rate. This one's going to be 16th notes. Just duplicate it here. This one's going to be 8th notes. And we're going to switch back and forth between these every quarter note. Yeah, I'm like not opposed to what's going on here. I think that there's definitely still a lot of tweaking and dialing in that needs to happen, but I like it's a different thing for me, which I think is kind of cool. And that's like one of the reasons I'm doing this 50 song challenge is to like try out different techniques for writing music and just be like, oh, I actually kind of like enjoy just making music like this, where I don't write really anything. I just let the computer do everything for me, and it just kind of like randomizes a bunch of stuff, and it sounds cool. And eventually, I'll have to take all these ideas and turn them into a song. But for right now, it's just fun to be like, all right, it's just a bunch of random things happening all the time that still sounds pretty decent. I do think it'd be kind of cool to experiment with this guy real quick. Duplicating that, and instead of having it be this synthy sound, if I can find like a good like harp sound or plucky kind of sound, that could be kind of cool. Is there a good harp preset? Go sounds. Let's look for a harp. Not that. That one could work maybe. Let's try it. Oop. Let's not do that one. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted. I think that's kind of what I wanted. This is actually not a bad preset. It works really well with the harp. The harp I think is a good call. And let's see if we can do no wavetable, but just piano chords. All right, now I feel like if I just replace this piano sound with something that's not the piano sound that's cooler, that could also work really well. Let me get rid of any tracks I'm not using. Get rid of those guys. Yeah, Kennedy, it's really fun just to like try out like new methodologies and just be like, oh, is this fun? Does this work for me? Because you never know. I think a lot of times, for me personally, I don't know if this happens to you guys, I get stuck in creative ruts where it's like I find one thing that works, and for the next like month or two, I just repeat the same thing, trying to make it better, or just like because it works, I naturally gravitate towards it. So it's cool to like try out things that are like a little bit out of your wheelhouse, a little bit out of your comfort zone. And I think that can be really useful. All right, so I want something with that has cool chords that I think will go well with the harp that's in here. Maybe something like that could work. No, not doing it for me. Let's try the pad category. Most of the pads are terrible. Maybe that one could work. That sounds out of tune. Normally I don't use the live presets, but sometimes it's fun to be like, all right, let's try out, see what happens. And it doesn't layer with that super well. I do want to try going up an octave on this guy. Now I need something that's gonna mesh with the harp. Sounds terrible. All right, I'm gonna try one or two more and then I might just move on with my life. Because the harp is definitely staying. Nah, none of these are doing it for me. All right, I have to try one more thing with this grand piano guy, or the harp guy, and see if, let's get rid of this. make sure everything's working all right. So I feel like this is going pretty well. I'm feeling pretty decent about this. We have some cool, interesting drum stuff going on. I like what the melodies are doing. The melodies are sounding a lot better than they did before. The chords, I feel like I'm not in love with yet. The chords, I feel like need something, like they work on their own by themselves. Like this is fine. But they're not really grabbing me yet. So I might need to think of either writing chord progressions, writing like 3 or 4 different chord progressions, and then randomly jumping between those. And that way I get the chord progressions I want, but it still maintains a level of randomness to it. Kind of like what I did with the drums, where I have like, here's my different kick drum patterns, and then I randomize between them. I think that might work better. I also feel like I just need to find a chord sound that works with these harps, because the harps are definitely staying. Harps are staying for good. So I'd like to figure out how to get some chord progressions in there. And then I'm really curious myself what I'm going to do here for a bass line. I think that maybe just a little sub bass where I kind of like do something similar to the chord progression, where I have like 3 or 4 different variations on the sub bass, and then I kind of loop or randomly jump between them. That could be kind of useful. Or I could set it up so that the sub bass follows the notes on the chords, and that way those two line up, and that could be kind of cool and still make it random. I'm not sure if I'm going to go for like a long steady note or something more plucky. I'm not really sure yet. I think there's options there that I could explore, but I'm definitely going to keep the drums, definitely going to keep the melodies, and like continue to evolve them. But I'm feeling pretty decent about those 2 parts. So there's a bunch of different ways, Kennedy. That's a fantastic question. So usually the way I like to do it is I like to hit play and then let it do its random thing for a while, like 3 or 4 minutes, and then either do it on a per track basis where I record each track for 3 or 4 minutes, or I record the entire thing for 3 or 4 minutes. And then if there's any parts in there that sound specifically really interesting and really cool, I will take those parts and loop those parts, and then that is what I arrange. Some people will just they'll let it play for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then cut out the 3 minutes they like the best. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. It's kind of up to you. One of the things I like to do a lot is in a situation like this where I have this is just generating a bunch of notes from the piano, is putting MIDI track right next to it, receive MIDI from that track, set it to in, and then we can record enable here. And then I can just record the MIDI out of this. So it's just recording whatever's coming out of there. And then, like I said, say I really liked bar 6, I could copy and paste this. Say I really like bar 6 and bar 8. I could copy this into another MIDI clip, copy this into another MIDI clip, and then squish those together to make it sound like I made something really cool, when really the machine did all the work for me. There's a bunch of different ways to approach it. I'm not sure which way I'm going to do it yet, because this is, like I said, usually I'll do this for individual sounds. Usually I don't do this for an entire track like I am doing now. So this is kind of an experiment for me, and I'll kind of see where it takes me over the course of the next week. Sweet. Well, at this point, I've been streaming for a little bit, doing some cool generative stuff, but if anybody has any questions, you are more than welcome to put those questions in the chat, and I will try to talk about them. But I'm probably going to hang out for another 10 or so minutes doing some more generative stuff. But I appreciate you guys coming by. If you're enjoying the stream, feel free to hit the like button or subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I will be back tomorrow for a Patreon stream, and then no song feedback stream this Wednesday, unfortunately. And then next week, the stream schedule will be back to normal. But yeah, let's play around this a little bit more and kind of see where it takes us. We could try to do, let's try the sub bass thing real quick and just to see what happens. I think that's worth trying. So what we're going to do is basically take the same idea that we have over here, except for the arpeggiator, with random notes, key, velocity, all that kind of stuff. Copy and paste it over here. And we're going to just plug in a single note, a single F sharp, probably in the 0 octave. And this should theoretically get us our sub bass. I don't know why it skipped that note. Oh, choices are too high. Let's set this down to 7. That should not be skipping notes. Why am I missing that? So it's starting F0, going up here. Oh, it's because I have these out here. Let's put these back in here. Let's give it a little bit of attack, a little bit of release so we don't get that click in there, hopefully. And then let's do a little side chain. Let's get a little bit of saturation on here. All right, so yeah, that's kind of I'm thinking about do the sub bass is just sine wave, playing notes, probably a little bit less randomization on the velocity, and then just side chain to the kick. So keep it real simple right there, and then I might do some more variations with different clips for different amounts of automation and things like that. But yeah, that's going to be it, I think, for the stream today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that. I think it's a fun, cool technique for making music. And this came out better than I thought it was going to be. Mostly I was just originally wanted to make just a chord generation device. And it turns out the chord generation device was not, I'm not even using it right now. Oops. But yeah, but I think what I did make was kind of cool. I think especially the melody part, I think the melody is actually working quite well for me. But yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully that was informative, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Patreon stream. If not, I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for popping by.